I'll come around.
Now call the meeting to order. Robert Mojica, State Budget Director, and the Governor has designated me to chair today's meeting. I want to welcome the members of the board. And I'd like to note that Doreen and Sarah is here, Mark Roselle, Jay Lifton, observer for the Assembly Minority Leader Brian Cole, Mark Roselle is observer for the City Council Minority Leader Stephen Mateo, and Doreen and Sarah observer for the Senate Majority Leader John Flanagan, who's also present. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last annual meeting, which was held on August 4th, 2015. These meetings were previously distributed to the board. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes? Second. Motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is for the financial plan of fiscal years 2017 to 2020. Mr. Mayor, I understand that you will present the city's 4-year financial plan.
Thank you very much, Chair Mojica. Thank you for the opportunity to be with all of you and present this information. I want to acknowledge and thank the members of the board for all they do for the City of New York and the State of New York. And I want to particularly single out my colleagues, State Controller Tom DiNapoli and City Controller Scott Stringer, both of whom we consider crucial partners in the work we do. Thanks to the private members, Jeff Powis, John Levin, and both here today, and Lawrence Gollop, who is with us today. We appreciate his efforts as well. And thanks to the Acting Executive Director, Jeffrey Summer, for your continued good work. Since I appeared last before you, our administration has deepened our commitment to progressive and honest and responsible stewardship of the city's finances. We continue to invest to create a stronger, more resilient, more equitable city while taking measures to protect our long-term fiscal health. Fiscal prudence and sound management underpin every decision we make. And they're the foundation of our fiscal 17 budget, developed and adopted in partnership, real partnership with the New York City Council. Proud to say we delivered not just a strong budget, but the earliest budget in the last 15 years. I want to thank members of my team who played a crucial role in that process. First Deputy Mayor Tony Shores, Budget Director Dean Houlihan, and our Commissioners with Office of Labor Relations, Lynn Alden. I think did an extraordinary job, and I thank them. I want to begin today by giving you a broad accounting of the City of New York's financial health, which continues to be very strong, we're pleased to say. The most important resource that drives New York City's economy is the hard work of town of 8.5 million, now over 8.5 million New Yorkers. Our job in government is to provide them with a safe and growing city. We're doing just that. For the past 5 years, our population has risen at the fastest rate since the 1920s. Population growth is happening in all 5 boroughs. New York City is now home to an all-time high of 4.3 million jobs. Over the past 2 full years, the city added 249,000 jobs, the highest 2-year gain ever. Job growth in New York City over the past 2 years was higher than in all but 3 states, California, Texas, and Florida. And tourism, which is such an important part of our economy, has grown over the past 6 years with a record number of more than 58 million visitors in 2015. Many believe that number will get close to 60 million in the year 2016. Yet as our local economy thrives, we cannot ignore that the larger economies around us are sending worrying signs, including the recent events in Europe and falling corporate profits. Our monitors have raised concerns about economic uncertainty, and we share their caution. We have consistently maintained cautious revenue and debt projections, and manageable outlay gaps, as well as setting aside historic reserves and continuing to seek savings at all times. In partnership with the City Council, we added $250 million to the Retiree Health Benefit Trust Fund in fiscal year 17 adopted budget to bring it to a total of $3.9 billion. I want to point out that $3.3 billion of that number is the result of actions taken since this administration came into office. For the first time ever, we have added to the Retiree Health Benefit Trust Fund for 3 years in a row. First time that's ever happened within the city. Something we know is of particular importance to the private members of the board. We're also maintaining the general reserve, the city's precautionary savings for expenses, at $1 billion annually across all 4 years of the financial plan. Traditionally, this reserve was held at less than a third of that number, and it's important to recall the size of this reserve when we look at our out-year gaps. We're now in the second year of the city's first ever capital stabilization reserve, $500 million. We created this new reserve to protect our ability to make capital investments. Our management of the city's budget has continued to result in the highest credit ratings in New York City's history. Our citywide savings program identified $2.8 billion in savings over the preliminary, executive, and adopted budgets. For example, we found added efficiency by coordinating homeless services through the Human Resources Administration Department of Homeless Services to achieve $33 million in operating savings per year. And this is on top of the unprecedented healthcare savings we are achieving through our responsible collaborative settlement of more than 90% of labor contracts for our workforce. Some concrete ways we're achieving these savings include, one, asking employees to accept higher emergency room co-pays and helping them manage chronic conditions like diabetes, which encourage an emphasis on more effective and economical preventative care. Second, we've already met our fiscal 2015 healthcare savings target of $400 million and our fiscal 16 target of $700 million. And we are certain, achieve our healthcare savings goal of $1 billion for 2017. We'll see guaranteed savings of $3.4 billion through fiscal 18, with $1.3 billion in savings every year thereafter. And on top of that, I've called on city agencies to find additional savings for this November for the next budget modification. So as we watch the economy, as we carefully manage the city's finances, at the same time we're making the kinds of investments we believe are crucial to the economic strength of New York City's future and what will matter to over 8.5 million people. Major investments, first of all, in public safety. Obviously today, very proud to announce our incoming police commissioner, Jimmy O'Neill, who will follow up on what Bill Bratton has started. We're very, very pleased that he will be taking over the NYPD. And he comes in at a point where these investments are already being fully felt. With the leadership and the support of the City Council, by the end of this year, there will be 2,000 more police officers on our streets, between new officers that we're hiring and officers that will go on patrol because of civilization. And on top of that, our officers will be better equipped. Much more technology, smart devices, shot spotter and other tools, bullet-resistant vests and other protective gear that our officers have not had in the past, and the best training in the world and the most consistent and active training of our police force. An example of the types of new equipment, just this last week, we announced that officers will all have ballistic helmets, heavy vests, and ballistic armor in their cars to help them deal with active shooter situations. With all new and higher levels of gear than have been previously available to our officers. A year ago, we approved money for something that New York City had never had before. 500 plus officers who are now part of our critical response command. This was something that was based on a number of developments over recent years, a number of thoughts within the law enforcement community, but was crystallized by the attacks in Paris at the beginning of 2015 that we needed a stronger and dedicated anti-terror force. And 500 plus officers who were full-time members of critical response command, highly trained, well armed for counter-terror duty. We've also made major investments in the fight against inequality. We've launched the nation's largest, most comprehensive affordable housing agenda, which is ahead of schedule on its way to building and preserving 200,000 affordable apartments over 10 years. With the support of New York State, in the last 2 years, we have created free, high-quality, full-day pre-K seats for every New York City family that wants one. And this school year just ended, we put almost 68,500 4-year-olds on the path to academic success. We've rolled out our equity and excellence vision for our public schools, including advanced placement tests and courses, advanced placement courses in all our public high schools, including some that have never had any in the past. Algebra for all for our middle schoolers, one of our most popular initiatives among our students, Mr. Chairman, Algebra for All. The Computer Science for All initiative, which will reach students at every grade level, providing computer science education integrated fully into the curriculum. Yesterday, we were also very, very pleased to announce that both our math and English test scores were up across the city. English scores jumping more than 7% over last year, and literally improving in every one of our 32 local school districts. We're funding the largest, most comprehensive response to the persistent problem of homelessness in any administration in New York City's history. We project that without the investments we've made, that there would be almost 13,000 more people in our shelters than are there today at this point. Thank God our shelter population has stabilized, but there's much more work to be done. On other fronts, healthcare institutions, particularly those that help large Medicaid and uninsured populations, are facing growing financial pressures, not only in New York City, all over the country. And here in the city, we have Health and Hospitals, the largest municipal hospital group in the nation and the foundation of New York City's entire healthcare system. In 2014, Health and Hospitals, 11 hospitals, and more than 70 community-based clinics received nearly 5 million patient visits and treated almost 1 in 6 New Yorkers. Now the system's 1.2 million patients, 45% are Medicaid and 30% are entirely uninsured. And as part of why the system is now facing a projected operating gap of $1.8 billion by 2020. And certainly the significant changes that have happened in the delivery of health care and the planned reduction in charity care by the federal government are also major contributing factors. So, working closely with Health and Hospitals, the city has created a 4-year plan to transform the system and ensure it can serve all New Yorkers for years to come. Our plan will close the $1.8 billion gap through $700 million in expense savings and $1.1 billion in new revenue. This will require obviously cooperation with all of our partners in government, and certainly our labor force as well. We're confident we can achieve these goals, and we've had very, very positive and productive conversations with the state and the federal government and our colleagues in labor. Now I'd like to turn to some major investments we've made in the area of infrastructure, certainly on all of our minds and crucial to our future. We're investing in roads and bridges, including a high level of repaving of roadways and, of course, keeping our bridges in a state of good repair. We're making sure our city is resilient in the face of climate change. We're ensuring that New Yorkers will have access to clean drinking water by taking steps, for example, getting our third water tunnel online and available so we have additional redundancy in our system. On other fronts, we're significantly increasing the number of school seats to keep pace with the growing population. We're making sure that as we build new affordable housing, I mentioned earlier, it comes with the parks and the transit, the schools, and the other infrastructure it requires, and we've set aside resources to achieve that. And as we borrow for capital projects such as these, we're maintaining our long-standing city benchmark of keeping debt service below 15% of city tax revenues. To conclude, I want to thank the Financial Control Board for helping to make New York City strong. Our administration's guiding values, fiscal responsibility, progressive government, honest and transparent budgeting, are the foundation of everything we do. After 2.5 years, we have a track record of disciplined and effective fiscal and programmatic management. You can see it in the strategic investments we've made that have kept our city safe and growing economically and strong. And in the savings we have demanded and found. And finally, in the historic reserves we have continued to set aside. Very much appreciate this opportunity to share this information with you today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Controller DiNapoli, do you have any comments on the city's financial plan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you, if I could. Thanks to Mayor de Blasio for your report to the board. I'm joined by Ken Blyweiss, our Deputy Controller from New York City. He and his team have prepared our review of the financial plan of the City of New York. Copies are available for all the members of this board and certainly for the public as well. I'd like to offer these comments for the record from the Office of State Controller. The city ended fiscal year 2016 with a surplus of $4 billion, which is the largest since 2008. The surplus, which was used to balance the 2017 budget, resulted from unanticipated tax revenues, debt service savings, a citywide savings program, and a drawdown of unneeded reserves. Balancing the city's budget in recent years has been aided by strong economic growth and the city's conservative approach to forecasting tax revenues. While the city's economy is doing well today, there are reasons to be concerned about the future. The Chinese economy has its problems, and the United Kingdom's intention to exit the European Union has increased economic uncertainty. While the U.S. continues to add jobs, job growth during the first half of 2016 was the slowest since 2010. New York City had record job growth over the past 2 years, but job growth has slowed in 2016. In addition, tax collections are slowing. Last year, tax collections grew by 3.6% after growing by an average of 6.9% during the 5 prior years. The city expects collections to slow further to 1.8% in fiscal year 2017. Current trends also do not bode well for the securities industry, which is an important part of the city's economy. Profits declined by nearly 50% in the first quarter, revenues declined by 10%, and the securities industry in New York City has resumed downsizing. The city's cautious approach to 2017 is warranted, given these economic risks. The city's revenue forecasts for subsequent years, however, are less conservative and more vulnerable to an economic setback. City-funded spending is projected to grow by 4.2% annually during the financial plan period, more than twice the inflation rate. Debt service is projected to increase by 38%, which reflects a large expansion in the capital program as well as the city's conservative interest rate assumptions. Health insurance costs are projected to rise by 34%. Targeted investments in education, health, and homeless services have also contributed to the growth in spending. Since spending is expected to exceed revenues, the city projects budget gaps of $2.8 billion in 2018, $2.9 billion in 2019, and $2.3 billion in 2020. These gaps are relatively small as a share of city fund revenues and are manageable under current conditions. Budgets for those years include a general reserve of $1 billion, which, if unneeded for other purposes, could be used to narrow the gaps. My staff, however, has identified budget risks that could increase the size of the out-year gaps. In addition, the Health and Hospitals Corporation continues to face serious financial challenges and could require additional city assistance. The city should keep close track of these budget risks and adjust its financial plan as needed. Prudently, the mayor and the city council have increased the city's reserves in recent years. The city raised the general reserve to a record level of $1 billion in 2015, and last year created a $500 million capital stabilization reserve. The city has also replenished the Retiree Health Benefits Trust, which was drawn down by the prior administration to help the city navigate through the Great Recession. The trust was established to help fund post-employment benefits other than pensions, but the trust has been used in the past as a rainy day fund. In fiscal year 2016, the city deposited an additional $500 million into the trust, raising the balance to a record $3.9 billion. In conclusion, the budget for fiscal year 2017 is balanced, the economy is slowing, and there are risks that could increase the size of the out-year budget gaps. To its credit, the city has increased its reserves to historic levels, which will provide a cushion against any adverse development. In addition, the mayor plans to expand the citywide savings program, which could reduce the size of the projected budget gaps. In conclusion, I would like to commend Mayor de Blasio, City Controller Stringer, the City Council, and their staffs for a job well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Controller Donatoli. City Controller Stringer, do you have any comments?
Yes, sir. So I've been joined by Budget Director Tim Mulligan and our first Deputy Controller a year ago, and I really am honored to be here with Mayor de Blasio, Controller Napoli, State Budget Director Rica, and the members of the staff of the Financial Control Board. Today, the rigor of oversight of the city's finances creates a culture of sound fiscal stewardship, in no small part due to the creation and history of the Financial Control Board. We all remember that history decades ago, and we are far from that crisis today. But across the globe, we continue to see the dire consequences of governments losing their ability to pay workers and provide citizens with critical services, from Puerto Rico to Rio de Janeiro and Kansas. Nonetheless, the role of the FCB and the city's other budget monitors remain as important today as they were back then. The city continues to face challenges. The nation has recovered from severe job losses brought on by the 2008 financial crisis. Since the recession, economic growth has been slow. The gains have disproportionately improved to those near the top. The weak recovery makes our economy vulnerable to shocks and signs of a potential slowdown are beginning to mount. Despite increases in consumer spending, business investment has declined for 3 consecutive quarters. Particular concern for our local economy, Investment banking revenues from trading and underwriting have fallen over the past year, fueling anticipation of reduced profits and compensation in the financial sector. Later in the year, the monumental presidential election, the Federal Reserve's intention to normalize interest rates may further create uncertainties about the economy. I want to commend the mayor for appropriately noting concerns about the national and global economic forecast in the discussions of the city budget and underscoring the importance of planning for an uncertain future. At the same time, the city we have begun to see a slowdown in tax revenue growth. Tax revenues for the last fiscal year are expected to reflect growth of only 3.6%, far less than average annual growth over the last 4 years of 6.5%. In terms of dollars, the city increased the FY 2016 forecast by $1.6 billion during the course of the year, a little more than half the $3.1 billion increase in FY 2015. For the coming year, the administration prudently based the adopted budget on a conservative tax revenue estimate. Therefore, my office anticipates additional revenues, but our forecast over the 4-year financial plan is only $1.6 billion above the city's 2/3 less than our forecast this time last year. Again, the administration has wisely committed additional funding to address challenges in our homeless shelters and our public hospital. In collaboration with the City Council, the adopted budget also improved access to library services and expanded summer employment opportunities for our youth. The future of our city depends on such investments in our people and our infrastructure. We also must be cognizant of budget challenges ahead. Our office projects upcoming budget gaps of $3.6 billion in FY 2018 and $4.0 billion in FY 2019. The largest risk to city spending is the potential need for additional city support for our public hospital system. We continue to stand with the mayor and his calls to the federal government to reverse planned Medicaid cuts to safety net hospitals and support the system's planned investments in restructuring for a more stable future. Additional risks to the budget include unstated uniform overtime costs and lower federal Medicaid reimbursement for special education services. A preliminary estimate for FY 2016 pension investment returns, net of fees, 1.46%, will also increase city contributions by approximately $122 million in FY 2018, growing to $366 million in FY 2020. Pleased that for the second consecutive year, the mayor has implemented a citywide savings plan, including savings from refinancing city bonds. Working together with my office, the administration is capitalizing on low interest rates, and we will save $688 million over the life of the bonds. For the third consecutive year, the mayor has also set aside additional resources to bolster our financial cushion against a potential downturn. The adopted budget maintains the existing level of reserves, increased the prepayment from $3.5 to $4 billion in FY 2017, and deposited an additional $500 million into the Retiree Health Benefits Trust Fund. Altogether, these actions increase our total budget cushion by $900 million. We should strive to do more, and we're going to work with the city to see if we can move that along in the future. The city's fiscal challenges should not be underestimated, but I know by working together, all of us, we can ensure the city remains sound, strong financial shape. It's great to present to all of you today, and I thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Controller Stringer. I'd like to now call on Jeff Summer, our Acting Executive Director of the Board, to present the staff's comments.
Thank you, Chairman. Staff issued its report for your financial plan. On July 19th, I just have to summarize it. The city ended fiscal 2016 with a surplus of almost $4 billion. The surplus, built from a combination of higher than forecasted revenue plus expenditure savings, will be used to prepay fiscal 2017 expenses. It is important to note that the city was able to achieve this surplus even after funding agency new needs of $918 million, increased pension costs of $530 million, as well as additional contributions of $500 million to the Retiree Health Benefit Trust and $179 million from hospitals. The fiscal years 2017 to 20 financial plan presents a balanced budget for fiscal 2017 but if the current expenditures growing at a faster rate than revenues, out-year gaps persist. There is pressure to both revenue and expenditure forecasts that are likely to occur, which will require the city to maintain its conservative budget management practices. In the financial plan, the city projects that city fund revenues will grow at a higher rate than last year's plan. In a less uncertain environment, the city's forecast will be easily achievable. Nevertheless, the sharp deceleration of city fund growth in fiscal 2016 presents a timely caution that strong growth cannot always be relied on. Adding to the uncertainty is the vote of the United Kingdom to leave the European Union. With that in mind, the city should continue to be cautious in its revenue forecasts, primarily in the business taxes, which showed weakness through June, and review its decision to reduce reserves for the property tax and the allocation fund. These concerns may be partially offset by increased miscellaneous revenues. The growth on the expenditure side comes mostly from higher salaries and wages related to the settled collective bargaining contracts, higher healthcare costs, and rising debt service. The contractual agreements with almost 99% of its employees have given the city crucial budget certainty. The healthcare savings agreed to in collective bargaining, $1.3 billion in recurring savings, are beginning to take hold. These efforts must continue and increase as the next round of collective bargaining continues. Debt service costs are rising due to the high amount of debt that has been and is expected to be issued to support the city's capital program. Debt service is projected to grow 23% from fiscal 2017 to 2020. It must be noted that the city, projecting debt service costs, utilizes conservative interest rate assumptions. The current plan anticipates that the prevailing low interest rates will increase. If, however, they do not, there will likely be budget savings. At this point, we already believe that at a minimum, debt service costs in fiscal 2017 will be lower by $75 million because it is unlikely the city will undertake short-term borrowing given its extraordinarily high unrestricted cash balances. Two other areas that we believe will be sources of expenditure pressure are pensions and increased subsidies for health and hospitals. Fiscal 2016, the city's actuaries request updated mortality tables and increased the pension contribution by $600 million. Pension fund investments in 2015 returned only 3.3%, which is lower than the required 7%. The financial plan already assumes the phase-in of increased contributions to make up this loss. The investment return in fiscal 2016 was even more, a little over 1.4%. The city will have to begin phasing in additional contributions starting in fiscal 2018, growing to about $400 million by 2020. The second concern is health and hospitals. As people have spoken about at the beginning already, the city has prepared a report that projects cumulative losses of more than $5.4 billion over 2017 to 2020. In fiscal 2016, the city has provided a $160 million subsidy with $337 million of miscellaneous revenue reimbursement related to debt service, fringe benefits, and judgment claims. In addition, since settling the recent round of collective bargaining, the city has chosen to absorb the wage increase for covered employees in health and hospitals. The city has developed a plan to maximize federal and state support as well as reduce costs. To the extent that this plan is not successful, there will be continual pressure for the city to increase its subsidy. Overall, our analysis projects risks that could range from about $200 million in fiscal 2017 almost $900 million by fiscal 2020. The city, however, is well positioned to deal with these risks and the additional pressures we identified. Fiscal 2017 contains $1.5 billion combined in the general reserve and capital stabilization account, and each out year has $1 billion in general reserve. The city has prudently already announced, as the mayor has confirmed today, plans to develop additional agency savings that will be included in the November modification to the financial plan. These actions should reduce recurring savings to stay ahead of the financial pressures that are likely to occur.
Thank you, Director Summer. Do any of the private members have any comments? Mr. Lynn?
Yes. On behalf of the three private members, I would like to comment on the city's fiscal condition. Mr. Mayor, we agree with the praise and concerns the staff and other members of the board have expressed today. We also see the national and local economy as in transition, subject to events not under control. This makes the city's continued use of conservative revenue forecasting important. We have already seen underperformance of the city's pension fund portfolios, providing increased contributions by the city. With that in mind, the city has been prudent in maintaining reserves of $1.5 billion in FY 2017 and $1 billion in each of the out years. The city needs to continue seeking agency savings to reduce expenditures, and we agree with your decision to seek proposals with recurring savings to be included in the November modifications. As you know, our main long-term concern over the last several years has surrounded the unfunded liabilities concerning pensions and especially retiree health benefits. Pension systems are now funded at a little over 70%, a drop from last year. The $52 billion underfunding will need to be funded over the actuarial life of the city's employees. As it relates to health benefits, we have taken initial steps to both reduce the size of the liability and increase the funding for the retiree health benefits trust. As of June 2015, the unfunded liability is $85.5 billion, lower by about $4 billion from last year. This is due primarily to lower healthcare cost inflation and $1.3 billion of recurring savings to the city's achievement as part of the last round of collective bargaining. This unfunded liability, however, is likely to grow significantly again. Healthcare costs for both active employees and retirees grew 25% over the financial plan period. The city and its labor partners need to continue the work we started to develop and agree to additional measures which have recurring value and truly bend the healthcare cost curve. The next round of collective bargaining has already begun, and we hope it was successful. Over all years of your administration, you've added funding to the Retiree Health Benefits Trust, with you and the City Council agreeing to an additional $500 million last fiscal year. The fund now stands at $4 billion. This has been a good start, but more needs to be done. We recommend that you consider creating a formal process as opposed to the current ad hoc one, and a minimum funding level for every year to be added to the trust. The process should then consider at the beginning of the fiscal year if more than a minimum level could be added. Another approach we recommend you consider is to determine the annual cost of retiring health benefits for newly hired employees. After that determination, these costs should be funded by adding to the trust over the expected working life of the employee. Over many years, this approach would eventually significantly reduce the unfunded liability. Before ending, we would just want to say that we are also concerned, as you and the other members have stated, that the financial problems concerning health and hospitals will create added pressures to the city's budget. We note that in addition to the $5.4 billion that the city has identified from FY 2017 to FY 20, the system has its own unfunded liability for retiree health benefits, currently at $4.9 billion, which are not being addressed. I might say, if I may add, on behalf of the private members, we have great respect for the acting director, and the acting director has extraordinarily expressed confidence in the steps you and your staff are taking with respect to this. We believe if you continue to take the important steps to both reduce the unfunded liability and increase funding to the trust, you will contribute to the long-term fiscal stability of the city that you have achieved over the last 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. Levin. Mayor de Blasio, do you want to respond to any of the comments this far?
Simply say I very much appreciate all of the testimony of my colleagues, particularly thank the private members for their analysis. As you feel, we're very focused on the question of how we work on healthcare costs and how we lay in additional resources. And it's going to be an ongoing conversation we certainly want to have with you and want to see how we can do more in the future. On the cost side, I remain very optimistic because when we struck the labor plans, the agreements with labor, we saw it as a beginning. We saw it as a floor, not a ceiling. It was tremendous enthusiasm, actually, with our labor partners to understand that the future of government's ability to provide services to the public rested on getting it right on healthcare savings. And I think it's been a very cooperative and positive process. I think some of the, I agree, of course, we understand issues like longevity and changes in our society. At the same time, we're also learning much more about how to achieve savings that are more foundational, how to focus more on preventive care, for example. So I'm very hopeful that in not only, as we said, after the conclusion of the current labor agreements, that there's ongoing savings, but we think we have the opportunity to go even farther in cooperation with them.
We think you just achieved notable achievements
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm now going to call on Jeff Summer to report on the staff's findings regarding fiscal year 2016 and their recommendation concerning the proposed resolution.
Thank you. I want to review the 5 conditions that if anyone that occurred would require the board to request filling the position of control period. First one is the city shall have incurred a deficit in excess of $100 million in the results of operations. As we stated, the city has entered fiscal 2016 subject to the final audit with a surplus of almost $4 billion and has prepaid fiscal 2017 expenses. The next 3 conditions are the city shall have failed to pay principal and interest on any of its notes or bonds or due and payable, or the city shall have issued notes in violation of restrictions on short-term borrowing set forth in Section 9B of the Act. And the fourth one is the controllers shall have jointly certified that they did not, on the basis of facts existing at the time of such certification, make the joint certification required to terminate the control period. In English, that is, the 2 controllers say that there is market access for the city. The city has paid all principal and interest on its notes and bonds. It has not violated any of the short-term borrowing provisions of the FDA. I have also received letters from the state and city controllers informing me that they do not see any likelihood that they would have reason to issue a joint certification relating to market access. The 5th condition is the city shall violate any provisions of the Act. Such violation substantially impairs the ability of the city to pay principal or interest on its sponsored notes due payable, or the city's ability to adopt or adhere to a balanced operating budget. The city has not violated any provisions of the Act. The staff therefore recommends that the board approve the resolution determining that as of August 2nd, 2016, none of the events which would have required the imposition of the control period has occurred, nor is there a substantial likelihood in the imminence of such occurrence, and that the city is not experiencing fiscal stress that would jeopardize the orderly functioning of the city's fiscal affairs. Thank you.
Does any board member have any comments? Hearing none, I'll ask to entertain a motion to approve the determination. Is there a second to the motion? Second. The motion is approved. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. First, second, meeting is adjourned.